So, welcome back, guys, to another video. And the other day I was on Facebook and I was just browsing on the wall, seeing what kind of stuff was posted, when I saw a post that really sparked my interest. It was from Aaron of Retro Liberty. He asked, what advice would you guys give to a new collector? And I was like, man, this would actually make a really good video. So I thought this would be something really cool to kind of discuss with you guys. Some of my advice I would give to a new collector. Now, there's no denying that retro collecting has become more popular now than it's ever been. I mean, I started this channel almost 4 years ago, and since I've started this channel, I've noticed that collecting has gotten even more popular. It was already getting kind of popular before I started doing YouTube, but one of the things that's really cool about collecting is I've noticed that it's not just people my age, in their 30s or a little bit older, that are collecting NES and Super NES, Sega Genesis, to relive their childhood now that we have more income and we can kind of go back in time and relive the good old days. But there's also a lot of younger collectors. I'm talking about kids that necessarily don't have that nostalgia attachment that the NES or the Super NES has to offer, but there's something about that 8 to 16-bit style that really attracts them to the hobby, and I think that is freaking awesome. That is really cool. Now, I can go into details and tell you guys, go to thrift stores, go to swap meets, flea markets, Craigslist, eBay. Retro games are not hard to find. You can go to any Goodwill or anywhere like that, but the main thing is patience. You have to have a lot of patience for this hobby, especially now that it is more popular. I mean, all the games you guys see behind me, this is a collection I've had since I was a little kid. I never got rid of anything, so and I didn't start seriously being like, okay, I'm gonna collect retro games. I didn't start doing that until probably about 5 or 6 years ago. That's when I was like, alright, I really want to start getting more older games. So I mean, it's something I've always been into, and that's not necessarily the point for some collectors. And honestly, I think some people get kind of discouraged. I've seen a lot of collectors, that stay with the hobby for maybe like a year or two, and they get kind of burnt out. And I think it's because they have that mentality of just wanting to buy, wanting to have a collection, wanting to fill up shelves. And my advice is that is the worst way to go into retro collecting. Don't just buy games just to fill up a shelf. Buy games that you want to play, that you want to own, that you want to have some sort of attachment to. A lot of people I talk to that are collecting, sometimes I'll be like, well, what's a game that you really want to have? And they'll say something like, oh, I want to have Flintstones at Dinosaur's Peak. And I'm just like, well, why do you want that? And they just want it because it's rare. Because, it is a holy grail to collectors. And me personally, I give two craps about Flintstones. I could care less about Action 52 or Cheetah Man 2 or, Little Samson's really fun, but I don't want to pay the price tag on that. And that's the thing. This is my collection. I'm not trying to get acceptance from people online or other fellow collectors. I could care less about it because this is my collection, and I think more people need to have that mindset of buying games that you want to play. And another thing is too, and a lot of collectors are like, oh, never do this, but emulation. Get some ROMs. The beauty of it is you can play a lot of these games already, and most of these games run on any sort of laptop. Even, if you have a crappy laptop, you can play Super Nintendo games on it. And you can kind of try these games out and see if it's something that you really want to invest, $20 to $30 to even like $80 on, Some people had never played a game like Earthbound that a lot of people want, but say you don't really like turn-based RPGs. If that's the case, then Earthbound really isn't the game for you, and you shouldn't spend as much as that game's worth if it's something that you're not going to play. That's my biggest thing is buy what you want to play. These are video games. They are meant to be played with. And, some people want to have collections of, complete in box and have all the manuals and kind of more, they kind of want to build more of a museum per se of a collection than just a games room, and there's nothing wrong with that. I like looking at those. I think that takes a lot of a commitment to have a sealed game and not pop it open and play it. That's not the kind of person I am. That's one of the reasons why I don't collect toys, you know, because I'd want to, you know, open up an old 1980s G.I. Joe playset and put it together and play with it. That's just something I would want to do, especially now. So that is some of my advice I would give to a new collector. Also, do not be scared to ask. You know, if you're going to a yard sale and they have nothing but baby clothes, or they have like old wicker furniture, ask them. Be like, do you guys have any video games? And be sure to say, if you're asking for old video games, always mention Nintendo. Nintendo's like a universal word. Everyone knows what Nintendo is. So you could be saying that, yeah, you got some old video games, some old Nintendo games, and they might not necessarily pull down Nintendo games out of their attic. They might be a whole collection of, you know, Sega Saturn games, or, you know, TurboGrafx. I mean, you never know. Never be scared to ask. And of course, if you have friends that might be a little bit into video games, be sure to let them know that you collect, because, you know, if they're short on bills, they need to pay their rent, you'll be the first person they hit up when they want to sell a video game, and 9 times out of 10 you can get it for a good price. And if you do go to a mom and pop shop to buy retro games, if it's a local mom and pop shop, build a really good relationship with them. Go in there, and don't necessarily go in there wanting to get a deal. The deals will come the more you shop there and develop a relationship. I think a lot of people, when they watch, you know, Game Chasers, or they watch Retro Liberty, you know, they see these guys get deals and they're like, oh, it's only because it's from the camera. But you gotta understand, these guys are building a retail establishment relationship. So be sure to do that. Don't be scared, you know, talk to them. They work in a video game store. They like video games. You like video games. You know, you guys can build something there, and who knows, you could get lucky. You know, when they get games, they know that you're a frequent customer. So if they get something that you're looking for, 9 times out of 10 they're going to give you a call, because you got a good relationship with them and they're like your friend now. So definitely never be scared to do that. And don't focus too much on the value. You know, of course, focus on the value in the sense that you don't want to get screwed. You know, you don't want to pay like, you know, $100 for Super Mario 3 or something. But, you know, focus on games that you want to play. I mean, honestly, to tell you the full truth, I don't know all the value of all the games that are behind me, or over there on that shelf, or over here on that shelf that I have in my game room. I don't know the individual value of every single game. It's because I don't really care, because they're video games. There's stuff I want to play. There's stuff that I enjoy. There's stuff that I love to have that's a part of this hobby. So, you know, there's so many times I'll talk to a collector and I'll mention a game, and the first thing they'll ask me is like, is that a common or is that an uncommon game? I've never heard of that before. It shouldn't matter, you know? It should matter more as like, is the game good? Is this a really fun game? That's just my thing. So, as a whole, all I can say for new collectors is buy games that you enjoy, establish a relationship with people within the hobby and the community, and most of all, have fun. Have fun doing it. You know, video games are awesome. It should never feel like a business. It should never feel like, you know, a job. It should feel that way. But anyway, guys, I also wanted to go ahead and give a quick shout out to Aaron's channel, Retro Liberty. Speaking of fun and collecting, be sure you check out his channel. It's full of that and then some, so you guys can get tips on collecting with the NES Pursuit, but you can also have some enjoyment and some entertainment. You can tell these guys are going out to flea markets, they're going out to buy video games because they love the hobby, but also because they want to have a good time, and really, that's what it's all about. But anyway, guys, be sure to check them out. I'll have a link on the description below, so be sure to click that link and subscribe to them. And as always, guys, thanks for watching, thanks for subscribing, and as always, happy gaming.